Hey, welcome to the podcast. This is The Surge Effect, and I'm your host, Mike Surge. This podcast will be talking about anything and everything, life in general to current events and past events, and all things about this beautiful and wonderful world that we live in. And this podcast, well, it'll probably have an effect on you.
Before we get started on today's podcast, let's talk about two different sponsors that we have. Our first sponsor is Love My Legs Own Sound Grey Bruce. Click on the link below in the description and head on over to their website, which is a Facebook site. Has all different kinds of women's leggings on there, and they have 3 different styles of waistbands. And they are the only lifetime guarantee in the business. So head on over to their website, their Facebook page, and check out what they have to offer. Our second sponsor for today is He-Shirts, She-Shirts. Once again, click on the link below in the description and head on over to their website and see what they have to offer. They are more than just a T-shirt company. All right, let's get started with today's podcast. Well, hello again, and welcome to another episode of the Surge Effect. Just banged out a podcast of the day, and I'm going to do another quick one here today in regards to the Emergency Act decision that just came out yesterday. So I just compiled a few things together. If people haven't seen certain items or certain videos and stuff that people have been posting today on Twitter, so we'll kind of go that way. But anyway, before I get started, I just wanted to mention just a couple of items that you can find on Amazon. First is these hearing aids, of course, these earpieces that I use, headphones. They're called Audio-Technica. I will put the picture of the Audio-Technica headphones right up here, and you can go and check those out. And they're great. Price is good. And they sound great. I've had mine now for several years. They're fantastic. And I'm also going to put in the lighting that I use, certain lighting I use when I dim the lights and put on other lighting. Right now, I just have overhead lights on right now, so I don't have the lights I usually use, but I will put those up there as well. And you can find those on the link for those and these headsets in the description below, so you can see them there. But like I always say, thank you very much for subscribing and liking my channel. Much appreciated. And liking it and sharing it, subscribing to it helps with the algorithm, especially liking it helps with the algorithm. Just a quick little check mark. Lets people know that people are looking at your videos. Stuff helps move it around YouTube. Okay, so let's get started. First thing we're going to do is just kind of show you a couple clips, of course, about the Emergency Act from the politics, the political part of it. Right there it says Ottawa use of Emergency Act convoy protest was unreasonable and violated the Charter, of course, our Charter of Rights and Freedoms here in Canada. There's several different clips, of course, that occurred yesterday. It was all over the news. It was big news. Federal judge has ruled the Canada's use of Emergency Act powers to end the anti-government Freedom Convoy protests 2 years ago was unreasonable and unjustified. In a decision on Tuesday, Judge Richard Mosley also said it violated Canada's charter rights. And the federal government said it will appeal this decision. Now, why would the federal government want to appeal a decision basically about assaulting and attacking its citizens in this great nation of ours, great nation of Canada? Makes you wonder why they want to do it in the first place. And here's another one. Court rules liberal use of Emergency Act was unjustified and unreasonable. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau invoked the act in the wake of a trucker convoy protest in downtown Ottawa in February of 2022. And that was posted yesterday as well. So these types of things, when you see them posted all over the place, and them saying that they're going to appeal it, the federal government's going to appeal it. Why would they want to do that? they want to appeal something like that because they're in the wrong. Doing what they've done to their citizens is absolutely wrong. I'm going to show you a couple of videos here. And this was the protesters the night before they were basically assaulted by the goon squad, right? The old jackboot thugs. And this is how they were conducting themselves the night before. These people, like, you know, some people in Canada figure that they're like terrorists. So they look like they're tyrannical. They're like, whew, they are bad business, bad news. So here, of course, is the next morning, and all kinds of different radio outlets covered this stuff. But this is the next morning. This is what happened to these peaceful people.
Walk on and turn your back. They look like they're going to move. You're not going to deny me the right to look at them. Watch out. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Hold him. Stop it. Stop. Keep him. Stop it. Use the fire and progress. Use the fire and
So this girl you hear her screaming is a reporter from Rebel News. She got shot in the leg with a tear gas canister.
Ow! Hey girl, you alright? Got shot. Bring her out, come on.
Some people didn't realize, they thought she was shot in the head with it, but she was actually she was shot in the leg with it. But still, I mean, point blank range, getting shot with a canister, tear gas canister, would definitely hurt. So anyway, so that's one little clip, and that was her getting cracked in the leg with a tear gas canister.
Hang on, I gotta get back.
Clip. And this is the next day. This is what occurred the next day after you saw them singing in the streets there.
Shit. Get down.
So these go on for quite some time. So I'm going to cut some of them short because there is a lot of different footage of what transpired. And yeah, there's a lot of different footage. I don't want to show you too much, but here's some Canadian veterans. They're at the War Memorial taking down the fencing and stuff like that. You may have seen some of these things online on different coverage. Of course, they covered that on the news, and they were saying that they ripped the veterans ripped down the fencing, when in fact they did not rip down the fencing. You saw what they did. They just simply placed it. And anyway, another thing that the veterans did too was they were standing in a lineup and holding arms together.
These are veterans. We got it. Stay right.
And of course, just right after that, basically a few hours after that,
got it.
Same veterans were being assaulted. And I'm going to show you that video right now. Just sorry about just getting it queued up here. So this is the same veterans, same area. Not too much longer after that first picture was taken, and this is what happened when the police rushed them.
This is disgusting! Disgusting! Oh my God!
You're now attacking different older people.
You guys are disgusting!
Keep in mind, folks, those veterans, those Canadian veterans, I would assume they've served in all different theaters in Canada or across different countries, and those veterans are, of course, Canadian veterans, and they're getting thrown on the ground and treated like dogs. I think it's disgusting. Another little clip here of the Goon Brigade going through the streets. They're like pepper spraying people and everything.
Pepper spray is out.
Chemical weapons on their own people.
Yep.
Hey, you don't have to hit him like that.
Using weapons on their own people. Now, this was the Emergency Act that was invoked by the government. So here's a little clip of just the other day. It was on Twitter. And this little clip here it's not a clip, sorry, it's just a statement. But Deputy Prime Minister Freeland says that the feds will appeal the new federal court ruling finding that the Liberal decision to invoke the Emergency Act was unreasonable and unjustified. They've discussed it with the PM and the Cabinet and senior officials, and we do not agree with that decision. So they don't agree that the Emergency Act didn't violate the Charter of Rights and Freedoms in Canada, our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It's disgusting, you know? It's just disgusting. But here's a question that was asked of Chrystia Freeland. I'm going to play this for you.
The decision seems to single out some of your choices on freezing bank accounts and credit cards as being part of the reason where it's unreasonable in terms of the measures taken by the government. You defended those when you announced them at the time. Do you have any regrets on taking that measure in the light of this decision? Would you have done it differently based on what we've seen from the federal court today?
As I said in my opening remarks.
All right, I'm going to save you a lot of pain by listening to what she has to say, because in a nutshell, she literally says no. She has no regrets. She spoke for a little over 2 minutes on that particular clip, and she literally said nothing. She just said a bunch of nonsense for like 2 minutes and change. Didn't even answer the question. She could have just said no and just left it at that. But she rambles. She rambles about stuff. I'm going to show you this other little clip here. It's just a video, or not a video, sorry. It's a picture of this gentleman right here. And he says, this Ottawa Police Chief says, every single Canadian who supported truckers will be hunted down and ruined. Ottawa Interim Police Chief Steve Bell has warned Canadian citizens that anybody who supported the peaceful Freedom Convoy will be hunted down and ruined for the crime of speaking out against the government. Isn't that something? It's crazy when you think about it. But I wonder what's going to happen to him and a lot of other people that decided that, you know, what they were going to do, that they thought that it was the right thing to do, when in fact it was the wrong thing to do. Here's Jagmeet Singh, and he's just literally come forward because, you know, he's probably running scared a little bit, but this is what he has to say about the ruling.
In reaction to the federal court ruling on the Emergency Act, they deemed it not justified. You supported the
From the beginning, we said and we maintain that the reason we were in that crisis was a direct failure of Justin Trudeau's leadership and also other levels of government that failed to act, to take the challenge presented seriously. Their inaction resulted in a serious crisis where we reluctantly supported the invocation of the emergencies measures. We said that was something that we reluctantly supported. And then we also were very open to the Rouleau Commission and the work and the accountability measures to assess whether it was the right decision and what needs to be done differently in the future. The ruling has been passed down. I understand there will be an appeal of that ruling, and we will follow closely to see the outcome of that appeal.
How they justify trying to backtrack on certain things that they've done is quite laughable. Because, of course, there's so many things on the internet, things that have gone on in the past, videos, pictures, tweets, everything else. It's kind of hard to run away from. But here's one here from Jagmeet Singh. It says, I have written to Justin Trudeau asking him to consider using the Federal Emergencies Act to help Ontario. This could help make sure vaccines are getting to people who need them and help sick workers get paid when they stay home. We must do everything possible to keep people safe. So, of course, that's just a tweet now. In all fairness, people might say, oh, I didn't tweet that, or that's not my tweet. But okay, so let's listen to his actual words in the House of Commons. This was actually words from him in our House of Commons, and I'm going to pop this up here real quick. Here we go.
Which was to overthrow the government. It sounds ludicrous, but they brazenly posted that on their website, and they reiterated it.
Order. I can't hear the question, and I'm sure the Leader of the Opposition can't hear the question. The Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
It's no secret that the goal of this convoy, posted brazenly on their website, reiterated as recently as earlier this week in a press conference, was to overthrow a democratically elected government.
Yeah.
That was their goal.
Yeah,
so the interim leader of the Conservative Party says, we have heard you, we will keep standing up for you. Do you regret endorsing a convoy that is attacking the fundamental democracy of our country? Do you regret endorsing and supporting an occupation that has harassed citizens? Do you regret endorsing a movement which has lost...
Order. I know the questions have to come to the chair, and then I can't speak on behalf of the Leader of the Opposition, but I'll let the Leader of the Opposition answer the question.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. And obviously, nobody in this House believes that a government should be overthrown, although I have seen that member's colleagues at a number of pro-communist marches, and so not sure if that means he endorses communism. I'll tell you what I know is when history looks back on this, Conservatives will have stood up with Canadians, millions of Canadians, vaccinated Canadians, Canadians who are blue-collar workers, Canadians who are white-collar workers, Canadians who have had enough of a Prime Minister who has divided, wedged, stigmatized, and traumatized them. And the party that will have stood with that Prime Minister is that member and his NDP colleagues, and it's shameful.
Nailed it. 100% nailed it. She nailed it. It's absolutely right. Jagmeet's saying, and he has stood with Trudeau for everything. Bill C-11, which is our internet censure speech, basically. I went to post something yesterday in regards to this on Twitter, and or on Facebook. I couldn't even do it. I couldn't even share with my fellow Canadians a story about that concerns my fellow Canadians. Like, how whacked is that? Like, and you know, you see people on Twitter that they're posting certain things that whether they agree with it or whether they don't agree with it, it's you know, they have their opinion, and that's their right, because it's in our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, just like the judge said in regards to our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It's a Charter of Rights and Freedoms thing, and it's the law. It's the law. It's no different than the law being somebody can't break in your house, or somebody can't steal your car, because it's the law. Well, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms is our law. I don't understand why people think that what the protesters did in Ottawa was unjustified or illegal. People were standing up against the government for something that they believed in. You know that there were no acts of violence. There was nothing like that, because if there would have been anything that was out of the ordinary that would have broken the law big time, the prosecutors in the Tamara Leach trial in Ottawa, it would have been the first thing they talked about on the very first day. But they didn't. You know why they didn't? Because there was nothing to talk about. There was no laws that were broken. So they're clutching at straws in regards to a lot of these different things. But I'm just going to play another little clip here. It's just kind of a remembrance of what transpired in Ottawa. And I'll just play it. Not all of it, but I'll just play it.
Small fringe minority of people who are on their way to Ottawa or who are holding unacceptable views that they're expressing do not represent the views of Canadians.
The cross-Canada protest, known as the Freedom Convoy, the people are traveling across Canada in opposition to a federal vaccine mandate for transport drivers crossing the border.
Some insane amount of people, like 50,000 trucks. Your country's in revolt.
Listen to this, Mr. Trudeau! Listen to it! Did you hear us now? Did you hear us now?
Minutes ago, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he's in self-isolation because of a COVID exposure.
Hey Trudeau, let me tell you something. You don't represent the views of Canadians.
The courage that it takes for these truckers to all stand tall together and to drive across Canada to go to Ottawa is massive.
This is a global, international human movement. The whole world.
We'll stop it right there. It goes on for several more minutes, but just like that young man said, this is a global, international movement. People all over the world started doing this same type of a thing to show their governments, that, listen, this isn't right what's going on. It's just not right. And if people want to give away their rights, hey, if they want to give away their rights and freedoms, they can go ahead and do that. But for the most part, people don't want to give up their rights and freedoms. Freedom. Men have fought and women have fought and died across this world from all different walks of life for freedom, for people's freedom, for the right to be free. Slaves back in the 1800s, to be free. They want to be free. People just want to be free. How's that any different? You want to be free to make your own choice. You want to be free to move freely. You want to be, free to make decisions. You don't want people making decisions for you. I don't understand why some people find that so hard to grasp about freedom. But here's Michelle Ferrari speaking in the House, and she was asking questions about the Emergency Act, and just like Trudeau's father, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, back in 1970, he invoked the very first act, and he did it because of the FLQ. The Front Liberation from Quebec, and they kidnapped two people, and they killed one individual, Pierre Laporte, I believe his name was. That was back in 1970. So he invoked the act and brought in the military, and it was quite the thing. But of course, one of the porters asked him, at what cost and how far are you willing to go? And Pierre kind of turns real quick and said, just watch me, right? That was a famous line by him. But listen to what Michelle Ferrari says in the House here.
How did we even get here? How did we get to a point that our Prime Minister invoked the Emergencies Act? The Emergencies Act is not something to take lightly. It's not the first thing you turn to, nor the second, nor the third. So I asked the Prime Minister to please tell Canadians what the first, second, and third actions were that he took before invoking the Emergencies Act. I, along with the rest of Canada, is still waiting for an answer. The relationships that have been destroyed in the country may never be rebuilt. The division, segregation, and stigmatization has deeply and negatively impacted Canadians. There has been countless opportunities for the leader of the country to unite Canadians, but instead of bringing us together, our Prime Minister says things like this, quote, "They are extremists who don't believe in science, they're often misogynists, also often racist," said Trudeau. It's a small group that muscles in, and we have to make a choice in terms of leaders, in terms of the country. Do we tolerate these people?
A federal court has ruled the government's use of the Emergencies Act during the convoy protests back in 2022 was not justified.
So that in a nutshell, right? Liberal government violated charter rights to illegally suppress citizens. Citizens should not be oppressed. They should not be oppressed by their government. We don't live in China. We do not live in Cuba. We do not live in North Korea. We live in Canada. Canada, where freedom should mean something. It should mean something. I get a little worked up sometimes about when I'm talking about freedom and talking about veterans and our military. It means a lot to me. And I just don't understand why other people don't get the whole freedom thing. You want our children to grow up in a country where they respect the military and they respect the rule of law, obviously, but also respect the position of freedom and the ability to have a choice, because that's what it's all about. Be able to speak freely, to say what's on your mind. Let's sort this out. It's called, having a conversation with somebody, having discord, and be able to go back and forth. You're always not going to agree with people. I get that. And people aren't always going to agree with what I say, and that's fine. Everyone has their opinion. Freedom of expression, Charter of Rights and Freedoms, whereas the states have freedom of speech. Speaking of the states, here's a fella here that's going to be actually coming to the States. He just released this morning, a fella by the name of Tucker Carlson. And this is what Tucker had to say.
We have arrived in Canada finally. We're standing on the commanding heights over Edmonton, Canadian Rockies on the one side, Prairie on the other. We came as on D-Day by air, but we came not to subjugate or enslave, but to enlighten and to liberate. We came to bring the fragrance of freedom to the rotting corpse of despotism, and never has a people needed it more, the Canadian people, oppressed by Justin Trudeau. But it doesn't need to be that way. These are the people who once brewed Molson, who commanded sled dog teams, who played hockey outside in the winter. They have it in them to throw off the yoke of totalitarianism. They need only to be reminded that they can. And they also need to learn it doesn't have to be like this. You don't have to be the country with the fastest declining standard of living in the so-called Western world. You can do better. You just need better leadership. So we hope to awaken them. Wish us luck.
Wish them luck. I'm not sure what he's got planned, but I don't know. It's Tucker Carlson. He might have anything planned. Who knows? I don't know. Anyway, it's pretty exciting, whatever he's trying to do, whatever he's got planned. Once again, like I said about freedom, it's an exciting thing, right? Whereas we have the ability to go out and do what we want. In Canada, we're supposed to be able to go from province to province. We should be able to go anywhere we want, film in public, do stuff like that, whereas without people approaching you, and or coming to your house, walking in and just uninvited, and going through all your stuff. If people want that kind of a world, then all your freedoms will be taken away, and that's what will happen. People are just going to, won't even knock on your door, just barrel right in and go, hey, what do we got here? And you go, hey, what are you doing in my house? Well, that's okay. Your freedoms they're non-existent. Don't worry about your freedoms. There's more to countries, right? As far as freedoms go, we have them in here, states, most, democratic societies. It's about freedom. But anyway, I'm rambling. And that was it. It's about a 30-minute podcast today, pretty quick. And it was just about, I want to talk about the Emergency Act, of course, being illegal. And that was being released by the judge. And that's all over now. And, of course, now the Liberal government want to test it. And I want to just remind people and show people some clips of what happened here in Canada, because we will never forget. Never, ever, ever will we forget what happened on this soil of ours in Ottawa, and what the government did to the Canadian citizens. The Liberal government did to the Canadian citizens, along with a little bit of help at the NDP, because they voted for the Emergency Act along with the Liberals. And we will never forget that. So hopefully we're on the right track, and freedom live on. Anyway, I can be found, once again, I can be found on Rumble, and I can be found on all social media, of course. Spotify, I can be found on Spotify as well, and Apple iPhones, of course, and Android iPhones and stuff, using a podcast app. Just type in the Surge Effect, and you will see my black logo with my microphone on it, TSA, the Surge Effect, and you'll find me quickly there. Of course, and as well as on YouTube. So anyway, until next time, everyone, I'm going to cut it short today, and until next podcast, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. You will get notified when you ding this little bell. You'll get notified when I upload new content. You'll get notified via email and stuff, because you're already signed up with YouTube. All right. Well, thanks again, everyone, like I said, for listening. Much appreciated. And until next time, everyone, have yourself a great day. Cheers. This episode sponsored by He Shirts, She Shirts. Go to www.heshirtssheshirts.ca. Just type in the letters TSA, the Surge Effect. When you check out, type in TSA for your coupon and receive 10% off your next purchase. Thanks for listening to today's podcast, everybody.